Okay, here's the box that I'm opening. It looks okay on the outside. Okay, what do we have? It's kind of taped up. Looks all shrink wrapped. Okay. Shrink wrap city. It's got some sort of air bubble wrap around it. Not so bad. They protected the back of the engine here. Looks intact. Okay. Let's cut it open, get the knife and go. So far so good. It looks very shiny. I'm happy about that. It's like it hasn't been used in the dirt. Very shiny. I don't know if they cleaned it or this is just the overall condition of the motor. But pretty good. Look at that bottom side. That's nice and clean, squeaky clean. Ooh, I'm gonna like putting this in my bike. If it still shifts like crap, I'm gonna be disappointed because this looks very nice, very nice. I'm out here with the Grom today to fix the transmission. I've got my cart, got my tools set out, and I'm starting to take the bike apart. I am fixing the transmission by completely replacing the engine. One, it just makes it simpler. Number two, I don't know what else to try to fix third gear, which keeps getting stuck. So the bike is up on a stand, and I'm going to finish taking bodywork off, and then take the exhaust off, take the sprocket off to get the chain loose, take the clutch cable off, and disconnect all the wiring. Then 3 bolts, drop the motor, put the new motor in, hook everything back up. I have the side cover off now. I need to loosen the clutch linkage, remove the cable so it's not connected to the engine. I need to disconnect the breather line. Spark plug cap needs to come off. The wiring down here for the sensor needs to come off. 2 clips and disconnect it there. Looks like I have to take a cover off to get to that. And the exhaust needs to come off. The fuel injection, I'm really hoping the airbox can stay up here and all of this can stay connected. Again, the engine just needs to rise up and mate up to this. Coming over to the other side of the motor, you need to take the sprocket off, and it's like a couple connections here. Gear indicator, stator slash ignition, I guess. This sensor here. I think that's pretty much it. I hope that's the case. Oh, I need to take the gear shifter off. On the left side of the engine, here's the plug for the stator. Here's the plug for the gear shifter. I have routed out of the way the sensor, so unclipped it there and there. And I'm just going to tuck this up here like so. And then sprockets off, chains out of the way. 1, 2, 3 engine mounts. The exhaust is going to need to come off. On this side, clutch, spark plug cap. Disconnect that, tuck it up here, out of the way, and then I have the sensor lead. I'm not sure how this guy comes off. That goes up there. I consider myself lucky. Screw gun here for the sensor. I just removed the bolt, take the cover off, and this is just a plug. It just press fits in there, so that came off nice. I'll put these back in the motor. Again, new motor is going to go in. And then I took off the clutch adjuster. Leave it as is for the moment. and disconnect that. All done there. Need to move on to the exhaust next, and then removing the throttle body. There's some bolts in there, but most of everything else tucked out of the way, cabling wise. Electrical connections looks all good at this point. Over on this side of the engine, I need to remove the exhaust, so grab a puller and pop the spring loose, and I think the header will separate here, so I can leave the rest on the back of the bike. So that'll make the engine removal a little easier. Still got to remove this pipe so I can lift the engine, but that should be all I have to do. I am an hour into all this work at this point. Note, for the engine mount back here, I need a wobble extension. My foot peg brackets are in the way. These are modified, not stock. So that should allow me to break loose the engine mount. Got 3 of those. Other one's up here, easy straight shot. That one's also a straight shot. That one's not. Okay, here's another note for my specific bike. Doesn't apply to anybody else, but the engine mount bolt won't come out because it's hitting the foot peg bracket. Again, this is unique to my bike, so I need to loosen it here, see if I can pivot it back just enough to clear the bolt. I started to drop the engine down. I disconnected the fuel injection throttle body, and good, this is separating, no problem. It looks like everything above it can stay in place as I drop the motor out. I missed some of the wiring back here, so literally everything from this boot needed to be disconnected. Once I did that, I think now I can drop the motor free without too many problems. I am lowering the motor here pretty simply. I'm just using a jack. 3 bolts and it will come straight down. I will swap in the new motor and lift it right back up. Okay, here's the bike. I started to drop the motor and ran into a problem. It's now turned sideways. I missed the ground wire on the starter motor. I need to take the bolt out, otherwise that's going to be a rope holding everything in place. At this point, the motor is out. Jack is empty. Everything just dropped straight down. Yay. Okay, here's the 2 motors. It's the old motor. Third gear is the problem. Everything else works just fine. It runs, makes power, all good. I am going to swap this motor in. I'm literally just going to swap it in and run it. I do have parts in this motor I want to move over at some point. Reliability type of parts. Example is the side cover here, because it has an oil sight glass, so I can check the oil without having to use a dipstick and unsafety wire it. And it also has an oil filter. That does not have an oil filter. Okay, here is something about the new motor that gives me a little question mark. You'll notice the case tabs have some gray sealer here. I don't know if this is as it came from Honda, but it is so inconsistent. It makes me think this engine might have been split at some point, perhaps for some other repair. There's more sealer there. I don't know. It is super clean. Well, we'll get it in the bike and find out. Okay, the engine is on the jack, ready to go back in. I just noticed something here. They put a cap on the breather there. How nice of them before they shipped that to go in and cap the line off. Nicely prepped for shipping. I like that. Okay, the motor is lifted up here. Jack is in place. I'm doing preliminary checks here. I have put back in the engine mount bolts. They slid right in and lined up. This one I still need to drive in, but let's check the other side. So, and then I need to line up the throttle body for the fuel injection. But so far, everything is matching up. I need to put the ground wire back on there, right in there. Got to loosen that bolt and put the ground strap under it. I need to pull off the cap there for the breather. and start attaching things. But so far, general fit looks good. Because this is not the same model year as my Grom. This is a 2014 frame. I think the motor I bought is a 2018, according to eBay anyway. The motor is mostly in the bike now. I was making what I thought was good progress. The mounts are bolted up, torqued, looking good. I have all the pieces. I need to connect the breather, connect some wiring, all looking good. And then I got down here. This sensor here has its own lead, and it looked a little bit different than my original motor. Here's the problem. Here's the plug from that sensor. Here is the connector from my original motor. And this works up here, connects somewhere into the wiring harness. I don't see a connector anywhere. So this is directly off the wiring harness. This has a plug. I'm hoping maybe I can track that down and figure out there is a corresponding version of that, but this sensor is completely different in how it works. Okay, other point. This has a wire coming out of it. If I need to remove this sensor, I don't have a socket to do that. You can't put a socket over a wire hanging off the end. You have to have a special tool to do that. I do not have that. I can't get a wrench on there, I don't think, to fit into the casting to loosen that nut. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. Well, I can tell you what I am going to do at this point, and that's going to be to complete putting everything back together. So I need to deal with the throttle body here and get that put back in, but I will save that for last. It's largely external to the bike, so I'll deal with that later. Found another little problem slowing me down a bit, and that is the throttle body reinstall. So there is a little plate that goes between the cylinder head. Has an O-ring. This side, no O-ring. What I caught here was we had a bunch of silicone sealant all over everything. I'm guessing when we put the other engine in last time, we didn't have the O-ring. So anyway, this is an opportunity to make right what went wrong previously, because I went to my parts box for the Grom and I do have an O-ring. I think we're back on track here. I have got the throttle body reinstalled, bolts tightened. That looks good. Oops. Put the breather on. Back on the airbox. Okay, so that is done. Moving back over to the other side. Bolts are tightened for the throttle body. Back to this sensor over here. So I found the other end of the original sensor wire, and it does, whoops, just fell out. It does route up here around the cables, and it did find the connector. And the connector is the same on the new and the old, for note. So I think I'm back in business with routing that cable up and getting that plugged in. I'm going to put the exhaust back on and bolt that up to the head next.
Okay, before we continue here, I need to get oil put in the bike. So it's up on a stand. I put the front wheel on the jack since I had the jack, and then I propped it up until the wheels were roughly level. At this point, I was able to pour in the oil and top off the level so we can start up the engine.
It's just after 12:30, 2.5 hours in. I think everything is bolted up, wires connected, everything run. I don't think anything's missing, so this is the first test. I got the exhaust hooked back up, so I'm going to turn it on. I hear the fuel injector pump running. I'm gonna run it, okay, twice. Let's find out if it'll fire up. Okay, it's functional. I have to finish putting everything back together. I need to connect the intake, some other things, but electrically, everything's good and connected. Pass.